Hey, you. Welcome back to Grace for Me. This is your host, Eva Queen. Y'all know I love saying that. Today is a day of confessions and uh, and sharing, which is what I do, right? I just get on here and I share. I will try not to overshare because you don't need that, and I don't need that. So I wanted to just really get a little raw in terms of sharing today. So, as many of you know who have been following this vlog since the beginning, I am on a journey of self discovery and also self disclosure, right? Just wanting to put out into the universe to hold myself accountable and to really create a space where hopefully other people will feel the invitation and permission to live out loud as well. So I have a confession to make, and that confession is for a long, long time, I have been a person who was secretly a people pleaser, but incognito, right? Not one of those people pleasers who was necessarily saying yes to everything, although I have been one of those people as well in my past, saying yes to all the things and leaving nothing for myself. No investments in myself, no time to restore, just like a hamster on a wheel, right? I have been there, done that, have several t-shirts, okay? But the kind of people pleasing I'm talking about is doing things or engaging in activity that I knew really didn't work for me. But because I didn't want to be labeled the person outside the inner circle or the party pooper or the person who's not cool or whatever, I would allow myself to engage in certain things. And those things included drinking alcohol. Those things included being in conversations that I really didn't agree with, but for the sake of saving my face, I sort of acted like I did, or by omission gave the opinion that I was on board with those conversations because I didn't speak up against them. I can't say really eating things because I'm so picky. I'm such a picky eater. but definitely things like drinking or in my way back in my youth, smoking weed. I've done that in the past. I'm going back to the 70s now, which obviously is 40 years ago. But my point is, I now know that I get to say what works for me, and I get to define what's cool or what's acceptable or what makes me happy, and you might be saying, girl, you are in your 60s. What do you mean you're just now? No. Well, that's the other thing I'm not really concerned about anymore with opinions around how long it took me to get where I am. Because, again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What matters is I got here. And I thank God for one of my daughters, actually my eldest daughters, who, she challenged me about a year ago, and she said, "Mommy, listen to your body." She's one of those, like, her daughter refers to her as a flower child, like from the 60s, right? Organic and holistic and all those things. But yeah, she's like, listen to your body, right? Because your body is telling you things about you. And when I say body, I don't just mean my, I don't just mean my physical body, but also my brain. Like, what is my brain saying that is giving me alarms, right? Not just my physical health, but my brain health. What is making me more sharp and feeling more in control of my thoughts and anxiety or stress? Not because certain things we can't even stop, right? There's certain things, especially for me, being a parent of a neurodiverse person, being a person who also identifies as neurodiverse, there's some stress points that I can't escape. They're just part of who I am. They're part of my life. And I can't change that. But what I can change is how I show up in my life. I have the control to do that. And as usual, I want to share a scripture because y'all know me, BibleMom.com. But there's a scripture in Ephesians chapter 5, which I'm going to go there now on my phone. Thank you for your patience. And this says, verse 8 says, "For you were once darkness, but now you are light." I love that. This is the New International Version. And I love that it's not saying you were once in darkness, but now you're in the light. It says, girl, you was dark. You were once darkness, but now you are light. Live as a child of light. So, when I think about that, I first of all, it makes me chuckle because, I think sometimes we don't take ownership of what is actually happening in our lives, right? We always think extrinsic. It's something out there that's having causal effect of in here, not really understanding that sometimes it's what's in here that's having causal effect of what's out there, right? And so if you are dark, if you have darkness, if you are living out of that, that is what's going to show up around you, and that's how you're going to live. And I know that this is, this scripture is talking us and saying almost like an instructive thing, right? Almost as if it's, saying, hey, now that you know, do. But I think it is more, now that you know, be. Now that you know, be. And so many times in my life, I knew for a long time, guys, I knew. But I was not being. I was actually doing the opposite of what I knew. And so now, and hey, maybe it took to my 60s for me to get the courage to do this, only because when you're my age, the parts are a little old. So You have to make better decisions because, listen, you want to preserve, right? You want to keep going. Yeah, oh, I'm sorry. I keep shifting that to you. Y'all know I'm just talking about me. I want to preserve. I want to take care of what I have, even in this stage of my life, right? And because of this stage in my life. But I wanted to hop on here to say to you, to confess to you that I have been that person who showed up in circles and engaged and, yeah, passed the glass of wine and passed this and, listening to whatever, knowing that full well that when the party was over, that when everything was settled and quiet, that now I am left with darkness. I am left with thoughts that I can't control. I am left with sadness that makes no sense to me based on what God has done for me. I am left with confusion or conflict, inner conflict, because I've shown up in a way that didn't really represent who I wanted to be or who I believe I really am at the core. So I have decided to walk in the light that I am. I'm not just in the light, y'all. I am light. Doesn't India.Arie sing a song like, I am light? Oh, I think she does. Did I get that wrong? Listen, I am light, and I want to shine. And I can't shine if I keep dimming my light. And I can't do things that I know dims my light, right? I don't know why I felt the need to confess that this morning on Grace for Me. Wait a minute, maybe because there's grace for me. I don't know. What I do know is that I'm going to do more of that, right? I'm going to do more of that. And, it's not that that's always easy because peer pressure is real. Peer pressure is real. The need to belong is real. The idea that we can end up alone is a very valid and real feeling that we all grapple with. But you know what? You may have heard this before, but there's something about light that attracts. I mean, the eye naturally shifts toward the light. People shift toward the light. Now, to be clear, the light does also repel darkness. So, if there are some people and some situations that suddenly feel very turned off by your light, just know it ain't light, because light and light go really well together. But light does repel darkness. So if you start seeing some repelling happening, just know, oh, okay. You weren't as light as I thought you were. Real talk. And prepare. I had to prepare myself for that. And that doesn't feel good, but it was necessary. It is necessary. And as I continue to walk in the light that I am sure darkness will continue to flee. I almost think that might have been what Jesus meant when he said, if you resist the devil, he will flee. I'm getting a revelation right now. Because resisting is not necessarily you being on the offense, but just you being light. Because if you're in a dark room and the room is fully dark and you suddenly turn on the light, what does the darkness do? Flees. Gone. Out of here. Am I right? Listen, I needed to say that, and it was healthy for me to say that for me, because one, I'm able to confess that, hey, I had that problem, that I was doing things, consuming things, allowing myself to be around things that did not speak to me. And I am so, so thankful that I know who I am. Now, that's not to say that I'm judgmental, because what the scripture says, for you were once darkness. Don't forget that. Do not forget that, if not for grace, there go I, right? Dark again, because I promise you I could go dark at any moment. Okay? But today I am a light. I am light. And I am going to live as if I am light today. So that's all I wanted to share, guys. If I stay on here any longer, I'll be starting to make stuff up. I don't want to do that. But as always, thank you so much for watching. And hey, like, comment, share. We are up to almost 40 subscribers now. So let's keep that momentum rolling. Okay, let's do that. On my next episode, I have an invitation to you, and I'm hoping that some of you will take me up. And until that time, I will see you on Grace for Me. You guys have a good one.